I'm Tash Jeffries. I wanted to thank you all first for allowing me to be here with West Hill. And I'll tell you a bit about what it is that I do. So I've lived a life, I'd call it sustainably, even before it was a buzzword or people knew what living green was. And for the past 10 years, I've also been figuring out, how do I make this something that I can do because it's my passion and do it for my work? So about 4 weeks ago on a Thursday, I actually got my first copy of my book, which is now called The Little Book of Green Minutes. And I wrote it because I wanted to teach people how to really live according to what we've been hearing today, which is interconnected, and seeing how we are part of the larger world and how do we fit in. And I remember getting that copy and I was excited and scared, and I was like, okay, now I've got to do something with this. How do I speak to people and teach? And lo and behold, that same day is when I got an email from John saying that Greta had thought of me to bring what I do and bring something to the church. And I thought, okay, this is really interconnectedness at work. It was just there waiting for me. So I'm glad to be able to bring this message today. And in that, too, I thank all of the mothers in this room. Today is the 18th year that I've been without my mother physically. And so I can think of no better way to honor her life and to be here and do this today. So when I think of interconnectedness and living with mindfulness, and how to just feel that I am a part of something greater, there's a word that comes to mind, but I'm actually interested to know, feel free to shout it out. When you think of interconnectedness and living with mindfulness and connected to your families, to your communities, to yourself, what words come to mind? Intention. Lovely. Love. Respect. Consequences, totally. Listening, yes. Generosity. And I'm sure we could go through and find these words, and they all mean something special to each of us. And I'm going to share my word that I use in all of my work that I do across the corporate world. And that word is kindness. And when I think of kindness, I think of how we can exhibit that kindness in 3 different areas of our lives. We can exhibit it to ourselves. We can exhibit it to others in our community and the people we interact with on a daily basis. And my passion, of course, the environment, and how we look at what we do every day and see how there's choices that can really benefit the world, the globe, other countries, nature, and how we can hold all of those 3 things dear. I'm going to start off with our connectedness and our kindness to ourselves. How many of us have failed at something? We all have. A lot of the times, if you're anything like me and the people that I'm always around, my loved ones, if we fail, we end up beating ourselves up, being extremely hard on ourselves, and really just getting so caught up in the fact that we didn't succeed at whatever it is we were trying to accomplish. So one of the tools that I teach my clients is called release and renew. And so what I ask them to do is first get really clear about what it is that they failed at. And the importance of that is so that you can see it clearly. And then the next step is to let it go. Failure is it's fleeting. Once it's done, it's done. But a lot of the times we walk through it and we keep hanging on to it and feel like that's what defines us, but it's not. And then what I ask you to do is to set a new goal and commit to it. Because every time, like life, to have success, you have to fail. And so that should be a good sign. You get to try again. And again, through this, we have to remember to always be kind to ourselves. The next part, which is sometimes very challenging, is remembering to be kind to others. Again, I can ask this question because we all have it. Is there someone who comes to mind for you where either your blood starts to boil or you feel frustration before you've even seen them? There's someone who's there for you. I could probably name half the members of my family, but even though that comes up, another tool that I teach people to use is called love without liking. And it may sound strange, but I'll explain exactly how this works. So, yeah, very close to forgiveness. Think of that person completely in your mind so that you can almost visualize that person who came up for you. And next, I want you to think about all the roles and the titles that that person might wear. Are they a mother, a father, a son, a daughter? Do they have a huge responsibility at work or within their community? And when you start to think of those things, you think, wow, okay. The next step is to think about all the challenges that that person might be facing that you don't necessarily get to think of in that moment when you see them. Are they possibly being downsized? So when you start to think about interacting with them, they've got something going on that they're dealing with. Are they dealing with loss in their own lives? Have they lost somebody special to them? There's so many reasons why people end up either lashing out at you or being very difficult to deal with that we don't see on the surface. But if we can take a few moments to step back and we see everything, like it's like walking a mile in somebody's shoes, and we do that, we get to come back and remember that we can show compassion to these people. Through all the difficulties that they're going through, we have an opportunity to, instead of going head to head and fighting back and being frustrated, we can show kindness and compassion to these people. And I believe, especially in the work that I do in corporate environments, they're always high stress. And one of the things I've learned to do is to remember this every day. And when people do start to lash out, I don't take it personally anymore. Sometimes it's just a matter of circumstance, what they're dealing with. So I'm urging you to, next time you have that situation, and they will come up, to take a step back and remember for you to be kind. It's not raised to the level and the frustration. And smile and be gracious and thank them for their presence. And the last part, which is being kind to the environment. This is my heart. This is what I do every day, in and outside of work. I'll tell you a brief story because it still just floors me, and I relate this to people so they can see where I'm coming from, and hopefully they can take something back. I would have been in downtown Toronto near Chester Station, Chester and Danforth. And it would have been about 5 weeks ago, and we had a beautiful spring day. And I remember standing at the corner, and I saw this monarch butterfly just playing. And I remember I stopped where I was going. I don't remember where I was going, but I don't think I had to be somewhere. And I stopped for about 5 minutes, and I just watched this butterfly just moving around. And I'm sure I've had looks of people staring at me like I was crazy, like, why is she standing here, and what is she doing? What is she staring at? And I was just in awe. Does nobody else see this around? And sometimes in the city especially, we get so caught up in being somewhere and being in a meeting, and we've got to rush to do this. And sometimes, I'm guilty of this as well, we miss the life that's happening right around us. And so I'm going to urge you as well, especially since we have such a beautiful Mother's Day, to really take a look at nature outside, the trees, the animals, the squirrels, the buds that are just coming up, and just revel in the awe and the beauty of it. Even in downtown Toronto, we have it everywhere, and it just stuns me how more people just don't stop. where there's a park in the middle of the city and just be in awe of its beauty. And what we can also do to contribute to that is also think about our actions and think of things not just in the momentary, but think of what is it that we need versus what we want. Sometimes with media and marketing, we get into thinking of everything as a need. We have some basic needs: food, water, clothing, shelter, and in this city, transportation. And other than those, the rest kind of come in and flow out. And I know for me, I also think of these things as well. I love gadgets. I love technology. I've got computers, I've got a cell phone and tablets and everything else. But I'm going to ask that you do, as I try to do when I do make these purchases, is think, if I'm buying something else, is what I already have, can that be used somewhere else? Can someone else use it? Can you donate it to a Salvation Army or even a local women's shelter, men's shelter, so that someone else can still make use of it? When you're doing your daily work as well, how many people drink coffee? Tea? A good number of us. So when you're going and you're stopping at a Tim's or a Starbucks, think about what you actually use when you get your drink. Are you walking with your own mug? Or are you using a paper cup? I would urge you to consider getting a mug and reusing it over and over. And I bring that up because there's so many things that we throw away on a daily basis, and I'm not sure how many of us actually, as a community, think about. There are alternatives. I know a lot of the times I go into a restaurant and I walk with my own cutlery and my own napkin. And sometimes people laugh. They do. They laugh. They're like, what are you doing? But again, for me, that's an opportunity for me to educate people, that it's small choices like that that we make that have a huge impact on the globe. So part of my mission is to be able to share these very simple things with as many people as I can so that we understand how truly connected we are. Every action that we have not just impacts us, it impacts everyone and everything around us. And I'm open to any questions, any suggestions, anything that you would like me to share with you that I do in my work as well. So if you have any questions now or later, I will be here. Yes?
Do you work with corporations?
Yes, I do.
So just give us a sort of an example. You walk into a board of executives of a profit-making company. How are you received it? How does that go?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So usually I end up setting up to have this discussion on the phone, and they have no idea who they're dealing with. And then in walks this short lady with big hair and bright colors. That's my signature. So automatically, I do take them out of their usual idea of a meeting. And I start up these discussions. So I ask people, do you know what your environmental commitments are as an organization? And usually I can get an answer like, yes, we have a sustainability practice, but I usually can't get an answer. So what is it? How much impact are you actually lowering on the planet? You know, how much waste did you divert from landfill? And so we have these discussions, and naturally the questions come, and we figure out exactly what do they want to achieve. So I like to take the people that I'm dealing with outside of their comfort zone first, and then it throws them off a little bit, and then we can have the conversation go wherever it needs. Most companies now, they do know that there are people like me who come along and challenge what they say they do for the environment and actually make sure that they walk the walk. So they're very receptive to seeing what they can do to contribute to the planet and also be able to hit their goals for their employees. So I'm hoping that answered the question a little bit. Or I don't get hostility. I get questions asking me how to do it. And so what I do is I partner with other organizations that do the same type of work. So we're environmentalists by nature, who also have a business background. I have a business background in management consulting. So we've pretty much taken our business experience and we've put it to sustainability. So sometimes it's hostile, but we can usually find a way that involves saving them money, and then that hostility goes away. It's true, very true. I've not been asked, but I would totally love to. So I'm hoping that one day City Hall will actually ask me to come and present, because this message is very important, and I think now rather than later is better. Oh.
I was going to ask, I've got two questions actually.
Sure.
The first one, you said that 10 years ago you decided to become green or go green.
Yes.
Yourself personally.
That's right.
So what are you doing at home that makes your life or living your life green? And are you a lobbyist now? But you think, like a lot of times businesses do not do anything unless it's a mandate. Once something's mandated, then everyone jumps on it.
That's correct.
They have no care about, the community or anything.
That's right.
It's not going to save them money.
Right. So the first part was, what do I do at home? I'll address that first. So I've not bought a man-made cleaner, I guess, in about 10 years. I have a few places that I shop for my products, which are health food stores that I've shopped at for about that same period of time. I research everything that I use. If I cannot eat it, I will not use it. So I use a lot of products like coconut oil, olive oil, shea butter, very natural things that don't come in fancy bottles, but they do an even better job than the expensive other products that you could buy. Let's see. I try to make sure most of my money is spent towards supporting green businesses. So shopping at like eco stores. I gave up my car over a year ago. Let's see, what else do I do? I try not to use disposable anything if I can help it. So if I'm somewhere and I forget my reusable mug, I'll actually buy another one and then keep it at the office or another place where I'm at. Wow, there's a whole bunch more, and if you're interested, I'm sure I can share with you. And yes?
Did you bring a copy of your book?
I actually only have one copy of my book. However, it's available on Amazon, so you can buy it there. And I'll be around, so if you do buy it that way, I'll be sure to sign for you. And there was a second part to that question, which was about lobbyists. I have some of my friends who do lobbyist work. My focus is working on the ground with people who work in cubicles and sometimes don't see that there's joy in their work. So I get in, again, I shake everything up, and I bring some light and some joy and show them some really good things that they can do that are very simple most of the time, so that there's some brightness that's brought back to what they end up doing every day. So that is my passion and where I'll continue to work in the business world.
I was reading Gracie Anderson's Confessions of a Radical Industrialist, which sounds a lot like what you're doing. Do you invite the corporations to generate contests, to generate interest in the people who are working in the corporation itself to give good ideas, what would make it more sustainable?
Funny enough you mentioned that. So the question was, do I invite corporations to do contests to give us ideas of what will help them to make their workplace more sustainable? I'm just in the process of partnering with an organization that does just that. So they take a huge bank of sustainable actions and have it geared towards a corporation so that they can actually get a good sense of how many tons of waste are they diverting from landfill, how many tons of carbon are they diverting as well, how many liters of water do they save. So I'm in the process of doing that now so that companies really get the engagement of the employees starts to increase and go up. And there was another question back here. I'm sorry. Right. Okay, so the response over here was, who am I getting to engage in these conversations? Because there are a lot of people who are hostile to this movement. And thank you very much for mentioning that. Now, from my background, I have over 7 years experience working in a management consulting capacity with sales and marketing. So one of the reasons, a huge reason why I wanted to do this as well is, sometimes when people think of environmentalists, it's still thought of as very hostile, very hippie, I don't like using that term, but very on the fringes of society type people. That has been my experience to see that. And what my goal is to be able to bring a different voice and speak in positivity and say we can accomplish the same type of goal, but we do it by engagement. So what happens is, from my experience, it's been 2 weeks now that I've been officially doing my business, and in that 2 weeks, the number of people who have found me, because I haven't done any marketing for my services yet, is unbelievable. And so what I'm finding is, because I have that marketing background, it's something that's positive, it's bright, and it's getting people to think of a whole new way of thinking about green. So that's what my passion is in bringing that message to light. So thank you very much for mentioning that, and it is true. It's something to always be aware of, and I am every step of the way. Oh, yes.
How do you arm yourself? How do you get in contact with not people who completely dumb?
How do I arm myself when I have to be in contact with people who are numb? That is when I have to put my other skills in place. So one of the things that I also know I am is a healer. And every day I go into the subway, I go on the bus, I smile. I just smile. And for some reason, people like that and will start talking to me. So I use that ability for people to connect with me very easy so that I can open a door and have a conversation, and then I let them take it from there. There's usually some way to be able to figure out, well, what can work? And it doesn't come from me, it comes from them. Yes, John.
There's a book that I don't need to buy, fortunately, and it's called How to Work for a Jerk. It's in chapters, and many years apart. But you'll be also talking to people who love many different things. This is related to a couple things that you said.
Yes.
But the one above them or above that blocks it completely. So to be creatively, how to make differences, sort of like as a double agent or something, but when you're blocked, and that's sort of like now, and that's sort of like thinking about that way, but when you're immediate,
Yes.
or it won't move.
Yes, and that's why I see companies and organizations very holistically. So while I might have one contact, I try to make sure that I have contacts at various levels and speak to someone there and make sure that they see on a whole why this is a good thing for them to do and why it does make sense. And I think for me that's the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity. Because when you've got CEO, EVP, SVP, VP, and down to the people who work on the front lines involved and engaged in this idea, it's much easier to have it spread than just sticking with one person. And I like to think of organizations as a part of it's a whole. So I don't just try and focus on getting through to one person. If I can, I'll get through them all. So that's my goal, is to go through as many people and connect before I even try and approach the larger picture. All right. Well, yes. Yes, it's the Little Book of Green Minutes. I'll be at the back, so I'll make sure you can get it. You can get it on Amazon.ca or .com and Barnes & Noble. I would love to hear feedback and if you're able to use some of the principles in your own lives on the book. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here and to share my life and my work with you. And I couldn't think of a better place to be able to start this new journey of mine.